Episode 220, Navigating Divorce with Faith and Resilience with Jenn Zingmark.
Welcome to Latter-day Life Coaches, the podcast where each episode is a conversation between me, Heather Rackham, and one of my amazing coach colleagues. Each coach here is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and a highly trained, experienced life coach making a great impact in the lives of their clients. And together, we have one main goal, helping you live your best life no matter what. You ready for this conversation with a coach? Here we go.
In this episode, Heather is joined by Jenn Zingmark, a coach who specializes in helping individuals navigate the challenges of divorce while staying faithful, resilient, and hopeful. Jenn shares her personal journey through divorce and remarriage, the lessons she learned, and how she now helps others find healing and hope. She discusses how to know when it's time to leave a marriage, the realities of divorce, and the importance of taking personal responsibility for happiness. This conversation is filled with wisdom, encouragement, and practical tools for anyone facing divorce or relationship struggles. Please enjoy.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the podcast today. We're so glad to have you here. And I am very glad to be joined today by Coach Jenn Zingmark. Hello, Jenn. How are you?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me.
Good. It's so fun to have you here. You guys, if you're listening to this and not watching it on YouTube, because some people do watch these on YouTube, Jenn has like this, she's got a yellow flower in the background. Yellow's my favorite color. So instantly today I'm like, oh, this is going to be a fun one because there's my favorite and my favorite color makes me happy.
Oh, yes. And you're wearing yellow.
I am wearing yellow too. Coincidental. We're just matching well today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jenn, you've been on before, but those people who have not heard you before, I would love for you to give a little introduction about yourself and why you do what you do, if you don't mind.
Yes, I would love to. Well, I am a sassy Southern girl, born and raised in the great state of South Carolina. And of course, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And my story is like many others. I won't go through all the details of the story, but briefly, I will summarize by saying I went off to college at BYU as a very young, naive girl and got married very young. And pretty soon after I was married, I found myself dealing with an addiction problem with my spouse. And we struggled for many years to work through it together and ultimately ended up divorcing after 11 years of marriage. I was 30 years old and I had 3 young children, and it was seriously the most difficult time in my life, but it ultimately became a pivotal point for me. I had devoted my life to the Lord and my family and doing everything that I could to hold my family together and trusting that the Lord would help me do that. And when I realized divorce was the best option, really the only option for me, I just trusted the Lord. I held on tight to my faith. I just deepened my spiritual roots and just had to really trust that the Lord would take care of me and my children. And so I went through divorce and was single for a while, but I did get remarried. I met someone who was also divorced and had a daughter from his previous marriage, and then we had a baby. And that was 20 years ago now. So I have been remarried for a while, and we have almost completely raised all of our children. Our baby is 18 and about to go to college here in a couple of months. And we went through all the things, all of the struggles of a blended family with step parenting and exes and in-laws and outlaws and legal battles and alimony and child support coming and going and all the things. And I like to say it was not easy, but it was definitely worth it. And it has really become my mission since then to help other people dealing with divorce to find hope and stay faithful to the Lord, to their covenants, to the gospel, and navigate those challenges while growing better and improving themselves and deepening their faith. And I created a coaching program called Faithful Divorce, where I help people struggling through the challenges of divorce do it with faith and grace and resilience and grow better through their journey.
I love it so much. This is a narrative and a story that it's important for them to hear because a lot of people feel like if they're in your situation that they are unique and that nobody else has experienced what they've experienced. Though I think education and people talking about it is growing, I still think it is a very lonely place to be, and how important it is for people to have resources, somebody like you to support them.
Oh, thank you. For sure. It's a different world now today than it was
Oh, I
25
bet.
years ago
Yeah.
when I went through it. There, I didn't even know anyone that was divorced. I didn't know any single people. I didn't know anyone to talk to. And now, yeah, with social media and Facebook groups and so much support with coaching and therapy, so many more people are getting support and help. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I bet you would give anything to have the support that people have today.
Yes, for sure. I like to
Yeah.
say that I help people get there, get to relief and hope, and that just that belief that I can get through this, I will survive this, it will be okay, even though my life is going to look so much different than I thought, quicker and easier than I did. That's my
Yeah,
goal, and that's what I love helping people do.
for sure. Well, that's awesome. Would you say that your perspective on divorce or getting remarried has changed over time? Or I'm curious what that looks like for you now, because, and I do think it's important for people to know that like perspectives do change, and that's okay. They're supposed to, right? Like that's why we're here. So I'm curious if you could share that with us.
Yes, I would say my perspective has changed so much. There's this judgment that we all have when we see people struggling. And I had my own ideas about people that were divorced or going through divorce. And then when that becomes you unexpectedly and you're in that situation, for sure, I have a different opinion about people who are divorced and what that's like. And it's something that you cannot understand unless you've been through it, like so many things that we go through in our lives. But since this has become my mission and my career now, helping people navigate the challenges of divorce, I've definitely learned some things. One of them that I feel like I've always felt, but even more passionately now that I've helped many people navigate second divorces and even third divorces, is I'm very much pro marriage. Having a difficult marriage or problems in a marriage is not a reason to get a divorce. You can find a million reasons to get divorced if you want to, right? I really feel like the challenge is finding reasons to stay married in the world today, right?
Mm,
And I feel like with coaching and with understanding our mindset and understanding how important it is to take responsibility for our own happiness and well being, despite anything else that our spouse does, we have so many more tools available to us to do that now.
mhm.
And I really help people, my clients and anyone, my followers and listeners, anyone that I can, have that approach. That if there is a way to stay in your marriage and find a peaceful solution, to do that. Now, I definitely understand that there are times when divorce is the only option or the best option. In my situation, I know that was the case. It takes two people to make a marriage work. And when one person is unwilling, then that's not possible. So when both people are willing, I encourage everyone to keep trying and give it every opportunity to work it out. You won't regret it when you do that. Even people who come to me after betrayal or extramarital affairs and they forgive and they reconcile and then ultimately divorce, you don't regret giving your marriage ever every opportunity to succeed. That is my experience in choosing to end my marriage, and that is what I've seen with my clients. If your marriage ultimately does end after all of that, you walk away with this confidence that you cannot get any other way. You know you have given it your all, and you can walk away knowing that. And it helps you move forward from a place of completion, from a place of knowing I gave it my all. There was nothing more I could do. And the person that you become in the process of forgiving and trying again is such a better, more refined version of yourself. You won't regret doing
Right.
that. Yeah. The third thing that I tell people is there's no green grass out there. If you're in a marriage that you're unhappy with and you feel like, oh, if my spouse just did this, if they would just be different, or there's this perfect person out there, right? Like that's not true. That is just a fallacy that you're choosing to believe that will make you miserable in your marriage. So if people, many times people come to me and they want me to help them figure out if they should get a divorce or not. And one thing I know for sure is no one else knows what is best for you in your marriage. That is something only you can decide and seek the Lord's help in making that decision. But if you're making that decision because you believe there's green grass, there's a better person that's better suited for you, that you're more compatible with, and that's the only reason, that's not a good reason.
Mm.
You're going to have problems with any person that you're trying to live with and build a relationship with. That's why second marriages have a higher divorce rate than first marriages, right? Once you've been divorced, it's easier to do it again. You kind of have this thought in the back of your mind, I know I can do that. I've done that. I can do that again. And many times people go into a second marriage or third marriage and they don't go all in. They don't fully commit. They sort of hold back a little because they're like, well, if this doesn't work out, I can always just get a divorce. I've done that. I know how to
Right.
do that. And so it can be a real hurdle in making a second or third marriage work because you're not fully committed. And so that's another thing that I feel like is so important, is to go all in. And the other thing I would add is that it is possible to have a healthy, happy life, whether that means getting remarried or not getting remarried after divorce. It doesn't mean the end of your life or the end of your happiness. For so many of us that grow up thinking, a couple marriage is the end, it's the destination. All of my wildest dreams are going to be fulfilled with that, and having to face the realities and the hardships and the heartbreak of divorce, it can be so devastating that you really lose all hope for your happiness again. And that is one thing that one of my most profound missions, I feel like, is to help people just get a glimpse of that hope. That's what you can build your life on, again, is the hope and the belief that it is possible to have a beautiful, happy, rewarding, fulfilling life after divorce, possibly a better life than the one you had before if you have been living with a lot of hurt and abuse and betrayal and trauma and not dealing with all of those things. You can heal beautifully and wonderfully and have a wonderful life after divorce.
Such a good perspective and so hopeful for people who are in a situation where they are like probably debating, do I stay? Do I go? How do I do this? And I love that you said you're pro marriage. I think sometimes people, when they're looking for coaching, they are like hesitant. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm getting pushed into one direction or another. And I do think it's really important for people to know that coaches, if you're seeing a coach that has an agenda, that you feel like they have an agenda that you should do something, you might want to find a different coach, to be honest, right? But
Mm-hmm.
because a coach is going to, if you're seeing a good coach, they are going to be very, I don't want to use the word neutral, but they're going to just guide you in your decision process. They're shouldn't be interjecting their own opinions into what they think you should or shouldn't do.
Right. They're going to
But
help you tap into your own inner wisdom and knowing
yeah,
to know what is best for you.
yeah,
But speaking from my experience, the reason why I say I'm pro marriage is I have seen so many, many people go through divorce, live with those consequences, and I tell them up front, these are some realities. If you're considering this, let me just tell you some of these realities.
yeah,
I'm not going to make that decision for you, but I can tell you from the other side what you're looking at with a second marriage and a blended family and that former spouse that you think you're going to get away from. They're going to be in your life for the rest of your life if you have children with them, to a much lesser degree once your children become adults, but still graduations, weddings, baptisms, they're there. And
Yeah.
so if you're seeking divorce as an escape from that person or that relationship with that person, that's not the answer that you really want.
Right.
There are other
And I,
solutions that
yeah,
can
and
help you.
that's for sure why I brought that up because I do think it's important to like have somebody who's going to help you see the bigger picture and not
Mhm.
just, you know, help you make a decision that is not going to be what's going to solve anything for you because really it's a challenge. It's a challenge in your own life as an individual to make those decisions and if you're seeking coaching, you for sure deserve having a coach who's going to help you discover the big picture for you.
For sure.
So then here's my question then. How, like you said, you're pro marriage, and I love that, but how do you know when someone should get a divorce, right? You're not good as a coach, I'm sure you're not going to interject them and they're going to help them discover for themselves when it might be the time. And what does that look like?
Yeah. I like to say that the best way out of misery is through pain, and that pain can be through divorce or through doing the work to find a way to be happy in your marriage first, and then you choose ultimately if you want to get a divorce. But what I was alluding to earlier is the way to get relief from whatever you're struggling with isn't necessarily divorce. I see a lot of divorce coaches out there that are very much pro women's empowerment and freedom and leaving the chains of marriage and the patriarchy and things like that. And I just feel like there's a place for that. And for some people, that's right. But, inside the covenant that you made, sometimes it's hard to find happiness that you're seeking. It's a hard road, but it's a hard road going through divorce also.
Hmm.
So you choose your hard. And I feel like if there is a way to make it work where you can find happiness inside your marriage and your spouse is willing, they're interested and willing to do the work on themselves to grow together, then give it a chance. But when people come to me and they haven't decided yet what they want to do, I counsel them to turn to the Lord. I give them tools to help them understand, to recognize patterns. And those are things we discuss. We talk about, how long things have happened and things that they've tried and taking responsibility for their own happiness and well-being, regardless of what their spouse does. But I know from my personal experience, the Lord will help you make that decision. And I know that it's something that we shouldn't take lightly. And making covenants is a serious commitment to the Lord and to your spouse. And I know that the Lord will give you the answer when you're struggling with that decision. And I trust people who turn to the Lord to get help. I know the Lord will help them make that decision. And then I support them in whatever they choose, whatever that is.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. I just going to interject here a little in my scripture study last week. Kind of one of the ways that I like to study scripture is translating, into my needs, into the language that I need to hear. And I think it was in Doctrine and Covenants 6, and it says, like, I think it's a revelation given to Oliver Cowdery, I think. And I think it says, you are Oliver in one chapter, and maybe it's Joseph, I can't remember. And then, or in one verse, you are Oliver or Joseph, whichever one it is. And in the next verse, it says, I am Jesus Christ. And then he continues to say, I love you and we're going to work through this together. And in my translation of it, I ended up thinking, what this really is saying to me is, you are Heather, or interject whatever your name is, you are Heather, and I am Jesus Christ. And together we are going to make great things happen. And whatever you're going through in your life, whether it's divorce or, and we'll just keep it at that since that's what we're talking about today. If we will lean on him and our heavenly parents, we can't help but let great things happen together.
Oh, I love that, Heather. It's beautiful. Yeah, I think it was Oliver. I was reading that same thing last week. It was
Yeah.
so awesome that all of us around the world are studying the same
Yeah.
scriptures. And that's such a beautiful thought. I love the thought that whatever your path is, it is beautiful as you trust the Lord to help you create the life that you want to have, even if it looks different than you thought. It will be better than you can imagine if you just keep hoping and trusting the
Yeah,
Lord to help
for
you
sure.
create the life you want.
For sure. What
Okay.
would you say are good pieces of advice for people considering divorce?
Oh, there's so much good stuff to share. First, I would say take responsibility for meeting your own needs. So important. And so many people seek divorce, like I mentioned earlier, feeling like they're a victim, feeling like it's their spouse's job to make them happy or fulfill needs. And one of the first crude awakenings they will have as a divorced person is there's no one else there to meet your needs. So what you were looking for in your marriage that you didn't get, you also are not going to get as a
Mhm,
single person.
mhm.
So that's why it's so important to take responsibility for meeting your own needs first. And the second thing I would say is practice processing your emotions. That's something I work on and teach my clients. You know how valuable that is. There is so much pain and heartbreak that goes along with divorce and separating your life from someone that you have been committed to for so long. And there's a grieving process that goes into that. And so that's something very important. The third thing that I've sort of subtly mentioned is choosing your mindset about your marriage and your divorce. You know, we write the story of our lives, we narrate that story, we tell that story to ourselves and to other people. And it's so empowering when you can learn this skill and practice it, that everything has happened exactly the way it's supposed to be. And even if your marriage has ended in divorce and that's not what you hoped or thought it would happen or, planned for, it doesn't mean your life has taken a dramatic turn that is unredeemable. That's that now your life is ruined and that you can never have a happy life again. It's narrating that story in your own mind and the way that you tell it to your children and family members and loved ones, and most importantly to yourself, to see the growth, see the importance of that marriage and all that you gained from it, and then take that with you into your future, right? To take all of those lessons that you can learn from that relationship, from that marriage, and help them make you grow stronger and into a better version of yourself.
And obviously, those are things that, in general, even if you're not considering divorce, those are things that every single one of us can be doing right now to experience more joy, more happiness in our lives. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's so important and things that I think we lose sight of, I mean, it seems so simple, but yeah, it's that simplicity that keeps us from actually figuring out what it actually means. So
And
what,
sometimes we wait on someone else to give us the motivation or the inspiration or a
yeah,
reason to do that, right? And
yes.
divorce forces you to step into that response. It's you. It's you. You're
Mhm.
separated from that person and now you're navigating alone. And that can be really scary after being
Yeah,
married for many, many years. But then also you recognize I had this ability and this responsibility all along.
mhm.
And maybe it took divorce to help you step into it and recognize how much autonomy you really do have over your
Right.
own happiness and well-being and your future.
Absolutely. I think the interesting thing about that, and one that I've been asked before is, if I can meet those needs myself, then why would I even stay married, right? And
Hmm.
I think it's really important to note that, like you said, there's so many things that a marriage offers us, right? Yes, we can meet our own needs, but we also need connection. We are wired to be in relationship. And so we can meet our own needs, our spouses can meet their own needs, but we also want to need each other. And need is it's a different word there, right? Like we want to
Hmm.
help each other, we want to support each other. So just
Right.
because
And
we can
share
meet
our
our
lives, right?
yes,
That's the beauty
yes.
of it is when you can each take care of your own needs, then what you get is just the beautiful blessing of sharing your life, sharing your family, sharing, holidays and events and the future together.
Yeah. Yep. We need people. And even
We
though we
do.
teach people that that you can meet your own needs, one of those needs still is other people. And we need that. So
So
what would you
true.
say have been the top three lessons learned from this season of life for you?
I would say this applies to anyone considering divorce, going through divorce, especially if you've just gone through a divorce. Something that I have learned over the years from my own experience and helping many other people navigate this is everyone's situation is a little bit unique. There are definitely things that are similar or the same for most people, but we all have our own unique story with our spouse and our children and our family. And I have just noticed this beautiful common thread through everyone that I've ever worked with is that there is something innate, something natural in you, either through your nature or nurture, that has prepared you for this experience. Some experience through your own childhood or your life or the marriage that you had together, you have been prepared for this in some way, and you have it in you. You have that strength, that resilience that you need to step up to this challenge. Whatever that is, you've got it. So I
We
love
could
that.
we could just say amen right there and be done, right?
Yes, but I've just seen it so many times over and over with different people, with myself. Like, you just think in the beginning, this is bigger than me. This is impossible. How could I ever navigate this? There's so many factors with divorce, right? Like the physical separation, the financial part, the dealing with the children and living arrangements and back and forth, and then blending families and new people coming in. So many factors. And there, you're ready. You can handle this. There is in you that grit, that resilience, that thing that you need to step up to this challenge. I have just seen it. The other thing that I have seen is that God will make up the difference so many times in my case and in many, many other people's lives. You just feel like there's this immense gap, right? Like, I know what my children need and I don't have it, or I'm not able, or I know what is missing. And I just have seen as we trust the Lord and we stay faithful to our covenants despite what anyone else does, He will magnify our natural abilities and make them enough. He will amplify them and make it enough. He will make up that difference as we trust Him and look to Him, stay faithful to our covenants. So many people that I have worked with over the years start out strong and they are just determined to stay faithful. And it is literally just the midst of darkness. It is a dark time. It is a time when you're all alone. You feel so alone after losing your spouse. It's hard to understand unless you've been through it, but it feels like literally the gates of hell have opened and things are pulling at you and coming at you from all directions. And I have seen good, awesome, faithful, strong people fall away and lose sight of the importance of holding on to their covenants. And I just have also seen others hold on. And your children need just one parent to stay strong and faithful and hold on to those covenants. And that's enough for them to be anchored and to tether to and to keep their faith in the Lord as well. It's a hard thing to do when one parent leaves the faith or the lifestyle that we honor and value and cherish. And it's definitely disconcerting for children. It's, their
Yeah.
whole world to go through divorce and then to have a parent leave the faith and practice a different lifestyle. It can really rock their world and change everything for them. But I have seen if one parent stays faithful, sure, your children are going to be exposed to things that you would prefer they're not when they're with their other parent. They're going to be exposed probably at a younger age than you would hope to a different way of living and a different lifestyle and maybe, different things in their home. But it's enough. If you stay faithful and you trust the Lord and partner with the Lord in that journey, it is enough for them to hold on to those covenants when one parent does. And the other thing that I would say is recognizing that it is your responsibility to meet your own needs, whether you're married or single. It's something that you have to learn to do when you become single, but it's also so important when you get remarried to just recognize and take full responsibility for meeting your own needs and not expect another person to do that for you. It's just a more empowered, healthier way to live, as you know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we go, I'm curious, along with the great things that you have shared with us already, what your number one mental health tool is. If you could pick one thing, what would you say that is?
I would say mindset is everything. It's really frames the way you see yourself, the way you see all of the challenges in your life, whether that's divorce or illness or the death of a spouse or loved one, or just hard challenges of life. I think when you learn the tools of coaching, that you have the power to control your mindset and that controls everything in your life, then we recognize that our lives are what we make it, and we can choose to make it as good as we want it to be. But it doesn't come naturally to us. It's definitely not the way our brains are automatically wired. And so I would say my number one tool is just managing your mind and learning to recognize, learning those tools and applying them in your life.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenn, for all the things you've shared with us today. So helpful and so relatable in so many ways. Before we leave now, could you share with people how they can connect with you and find more of you?
Yes, thank you so much, Heather, for having me on. This has just been
Yeah.
so great. And I'm so honored to share my story and what I do. I have a podcast, Find the Joy with Jenn, and I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all the things. You can find me at findthejoywithjenn.com. And if you're ready to walk this road, or you want help navigating the challenges of divorce, or you're ready to dive deep into the work of reclaiming your identity and healing after divorce, I would love to invite you to join me in my coaching program, Faithful Divorce, where I will help you not just survive, but to thrive and become the best version of yourself in your divorce journey. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to our listeners that are here. And if you know anybody who can benefit from hearing this message today as you're listening, share it with them. They'll love you for it. And we all can use a little bit more peace and joy and help in our life. So thank you for being here, Jenn.
Of course, my pleasure.
All right. We'll see you all again next time. Hey, we just wanted to thank you for spending part of your day here with us at Latter-day Life Coaches and being part of this conversation. Share this with your friends so that you can have a conversation with them on this topic as well. And as always, subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Have a good one, my friends.